Ameritje, Amedinele, Amichayech leben, es ruht auf ihre Schienele, mir sollen also leben, Milchomes.
It was Halloween night 1938. I was 12, living in an apartment in Brooklyn with my sister Lula, my mom and dad, and my grandma, Bobby. The family was in shock, worrying about its relations in Europe. Dad's brother and family lived in Warsaw and were trying to get out. Mom's family lived in the Ukraine. My parents followed the news microscopically. Dad listened to Hitler's broadcasts so he could figure out what was going on abroad.
Es muss weitergekämpft werden, es geht nicht. Ihr dürft nicht handeln, ihr müsst gehorchen, ihr müsst euch fügen, ihr müsst euch diesem unerhörten Zwang beugen.
Mom listened to the demagogue Father Coughlin so she could warn Lula and me what we might hear in school.
Mr. Ford said that he believed there was little or no persecution in Germany. If any, it was due not to the German government, but to the warmongers, the international bankers, and fomented by distinctively Jewish influence. By all means, let us have courage to compound our sympathy, not only from the tears of Jews, but also from the blood of Christians.
What kept me up was hearing planes from Floyd Bennett Field all night. I imagined the Luftwaffe crossing the ocean and bombing us, like they did Guernica last year. Or like the Japanese bombed Canton in the summer. The Germans are building 3,000 warplanes a month. I hear there is no defense from an air raid. Last summer in Paris, the whole world, including America, said they wouldn't help Jews escape from Europe. It's been a pretty bad year so far. The only good thing that happened was when heavyweight champ Joe Louis knocked out the German Max Schmeling in the first round. Oh yeah. And a fierce hurricane hit last month, flooding Brooklyn for 3 blocks off the East River. My parents were really only happy when their friends visited. Over the kitchen table they scrapped over politics like a street fight. They argued about how to best help workers, through trade unions or a socialist revolution, which some of them thought imminent. Those nights they usually sent me down to the second floor to my friend Paul's, where they thought the second coming was imminent. I started out the night listening to Bobby tell spooky tales about the Golem, the man of clay created by a Rebbe who saved the Jews of Prague, but kept getting bigger and bigger and turned into a monster. Then I went over to Paul's, where we carved a turnip jack-o'-lantern, then had barnbrack fortune-telling fruitcake. Paul's dad got the rag for the 3rd year in a row, which meant he was going to be poor again. Paul got the coin, meaning he was going to come into money. And I got the ring, a sure sign of impending romance, which I was glad of because I liked Paul's sister Emily. She smiled when I got the ring, which set my heart aflutter. We dressed up in goblin costumes Paul's mom gave us and set out to create as much havoc as possible before we got caught. Mostly we knocked on doors and ran, after leaving mysterious objects behind. Once a burning candle. Then we went back to Bob for apples. Paul's dad was listening to the Chase and Sanborn hour until music came on. Then he switched to a news broadcast. I didn't pay much attention because I was trying to kiss Emily.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor...
There's a hubbub. I hear the word Grover's Mill, a town in New Jersey. Paul's mom shouts out, "It's an invasion." "Is it Germans?" Paul asks. "I don't know what it is," says Paul's mom. "They're saying it's Martians," Paul's dad says. I hear shouting in the hall. Someone knocks on the door. It's a neighbor. "Phil," the neighbor says, coming in. Do you hear the news?" "Yeah," said Phil, Paul's dad. Now I remember his name. "What should we do?" the neighbor says. "They're coming over the Hudson." "Maybe they'll stop in Manhattan. Maybe we're safe over here," says Paul's mom. A bunch of other neighbors come over. One of them has a shortwave, a flashlight, and a bag of Wonder Bread. "Come on, we're going to the basement," he says. I hear other people shouting in the hall, outside. Phil noticed I was getting kind of panicky, so he told me to go home. When I got home, this is the conversation we had, as best as I recall. "Sit down, Max," my mom said. "Catch your breath. What's the fuss?" "They're on the Hudson. We gotta go to the basement." "Who's on the Hudson, Max?" said my dad. "They're taking over the world. They have death rays." "Who has death rays?" Dad said. "The Martians." "Ah," Dad said. "The Martians." "No? The whole world is coming to an end now? Not just the Jews?" said Bubby. "It's true. It's on the radio." "What? We're not even safe here in the Golden Medina?" "Is that what all the racket is?" Dad said. "They think Martians have landed?" "The broadcaster is there. He'd know." "Seeing is believing, eh?" Dad said. "They have gas." "The Hasidim must be dancing." "Hush, Bubby. If Grandma had wheels, she'd be a wagon." "They're worried about Martians. What about the National Socialists?" "I'd rather have Martians than National Socialists," my mom said. Even Lula got in her 2 bits. "They'll blame us for the Martians, too." "Are you still awake, sweetie?" Dad said. "Everyone in the building is going into the basement." "Well, we're not going into the basement," Mom said. "Let's not get carried away, Max," said Dad. "It's all right, Max. Leonard, turn on the radio. Let's see what's going on." "You sit as if on a rail barrel."
The enemy is now in sight above the palisades. Five great machines. First one is crossing the river. I can see it from here, waiting.
"It's okay," said my mom. "Max, it's a radio play."
People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing 6th Avenue. 5th Avenue. 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
And Bubby had the last word as usual before Lula and I were sent packing to bed. "A complete fool is half a prophet."
Oi, leben so Columbus, trinkt Brüder L'chaim. Leben so Columbus.